So the Big 12 now, listen, man, last year we did pretty well with the Big 12. This year, I think we all agreed that it was tougher to predict this conference going into this year because one, you're adding in four new teams, and
Newcomers.
two,
This league
yeah,
already has so much parity from top to bottom.
and two, it was easier to judge teams because before the Big 12 was playing the full round robin, like everybody plays everybody. There's no hiding. Now it's like, okay, some teams can play team X and Y, but they don't play team Z and vice versa. So some of the schedules were lopsided, and you saw that play out. I mean, look at Oklahoma State. They were the beneficiary of playing a really weak schedule.
Absolutely.
And then you had some schools that had to play tougher teams. And in the Big 12, where a lot of these schools are so closely related to each other in terms of team talent and coaching, it's like, man, it's getting tough to predict. And I felt like going 22-20 overall is I'd say that's a win in my book with the way that this league played out this year. One, I can't believe Gonzo took the under on Texas. Now, Gonzo's not here to stand on trial for this, but like, I don't know what he was thinking when he put the under on Texas. Like, literally every single sign was saying, literally, Texas is going to be good.
I think Gonzo was subscribing to the same Texas is back, but they're not back, because they had been perennial chokers up until this year. But I mean, you and I saw the writing. We said, look, a team like this has all this talent. They can't suck forever. It's just not going to happen. And they're already trending in the right direction. And hey, I do feel a little dumb about going Oklahoma under, because I was thinking 9-3 at the time, but their schedule was pretty light. It was more favorable given the talent discrepancy, and 10-2 I think was perfect. But I went under because it was a little bit of hater mode for me, and wishful thinking more than my actual thoughts. But hey, good for OU, 10-2. Didn't make the conference championship though. Kansas State, consistent darlings for me. I love them. Overs all the way around.
Easy overplayed for all of us. Yeah, I felt very confident in this, and to be honest, I think Kansas State, towards the middle of the season, Kansas State had a stretch there where they were not really playing that well. I mean, they lost to Oklahoma State. Yeah, they had a stretch where they were not playing well, and they still hit this over. I think they were kind of like Duke, sort of Duke light in my opinion. Like, didn't play as good as we thought they would, but yet they still hit the over.
Yeah.
So
they took early season losses to a quality Mizzou team, by the way, who they almost beat, and we saw how good Missouri was. And then they lost to Oklahoma State, which I did not think that was going to happen at all. But yeah, man, I do want to take. I'll give one and I'll take one here. I'll take my victory lap first because I'm bringing it up. My victory lap is Baylor, man. I was so supremely confident in that under. I put, and this sounds stupid, but I put 3 separate bets on it because I've forgotten that I had made initial bets on it. So I had 3 different tickets on Baylor under.
Jeez, man.
It was stupid on my part, I know. But I didn't know until I looked into my later bets, and I'm like, oh man, I had that Baylor under a while ago. And then, but yeah, so I was pretty proud of that. The one where I'll eat the crow is the UCF over that I took. You guys were pretty confident in that being an under, but I will stand my ground in saying that if JRP, John Reese Plumlee, was healthy, didn't get hurt for an extended period of time, I think they at least get the 7 put. So I will at least leave that little nugget of information. But when we do the win totals, I will give credit where credit is due, because you guys did say a big reason for your under was because that team is JRP. JRP goes down, they're screwed. And what happened? JRP went down, they were screwed. So you guys deserve your credit. I deserve my L because the reasoning was provided at face value. And hey, you guys were absolutely right.
I will say though, as much as we like to toy with UCF and their fans a little bit here and there, they were, I would say, kind of unlucky this year in some of these games, because remember that Baylor game where they had that game stolen from them? That was a complete collapse.
And that comeback was crazy.
The game against Oklahoma, I mean, you could argue UCF should have won that game in Norman, and then they lost. They had a handful of games that were stolen for them. I think that they had better fortunes. This could have been like a 7-5, 8-4 team.
They're a good program, man. I think they will be competing at the top end of the Big 12 for years to come. They did have bad luck, but we'll see how KJ Jefferson does, man. That's an interesting addition.
Yeah, and my final statements here before we move on with TCU, I think all of us just, we knew there was going to be, like, literally everybody and their mom could tell you this team was going to drop off from, like, literally playing for a national championship.
But to 5-7 and not making a bowl, I didn't expect that.
Nobody did, and us included. Texas Tech, listen, man, swing and a miss. And again, this was one where I was like, define what I looked at this team and I was like, my numbers were saying this was a 6 to 7 win team, and it was saying play the under, and yet I was like, oh no, it's Texas Tech's got all this momentum, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go with the over. I went with the Hearts. Pointing to the wrong thing here. I went with this instead of this because this was saying under, this was saying over. Yeah, I messed up.
I was ready to see the Red Raiders have a pretty decent year, and everything pointed to it, man. There was a lot of hype around them, but sports books are smart, man. I think the sports books knew there was a lot of hype around them, and they were like 7-5. A lot of people are going to bait this over, and damn it, we did it.
But you know what? I think they have post-hype sleeper potential, if you know what I mean, for next year.
I feel like, every year I feel like Tech has enough talent to be a potential sleeper, especially with the way Joey McGuire is building that program and the talent that he's bringing in. And so I feel like we're going to be having this conversation every year, but the question is, will they realize that potential under Joey McGuire? Or is he just a guy who can get you hyped up, pump up your fans? Everything runs through Lubbock except for wins. I mean, you know, like, we'll see. We'll see. Because Joey McGuire is a passionate guy. Hearing his speeches and all that, sometimes I wish my head coach would do that. But hey, my head coach, at least he gets better results. And as much as I criticize him, he gets it. Oklahoma State over. I took this because of the heart, man. Not because I thought they would be any good this year. Combination of easy schedule and heart, and where my heart is, and they far exceeded expectations this year. So especially what we saw to begin the season, I was thinking, damn, I really should have taken the under. But hey, credit to Mike Gundy and his coaching staff; they figured it out. Anything
We're all
else
in the same boat
there?
Really sticks out in the same boat there with the Pokes. Yep. If you told me they were going to play for the Big 12 championship game, oh my God, I would have bet my entire life savings that would not happen. So that was a huge surprise. All I gotta say is a few things here. One, Kansas under, man, what were you thinking? How could you doubt Lance Leipold like that, man? Never fade. I know. Never fade.
Lance Leipold, and you know what? And even with Bean, their backup, they still did pretty good. They had a lot of returning people, but I remember, if I recall correctly, I was really down on their defensive line, and I thought they were going to get dominated in the trenches but their defensive line ended up being a little bit better than I was expecting. Their offense still very, very good, but now Koltonecki's gone, so we'll see how they look next year, because there's definitely going to be quite an adjustment. We'll see if that's more of a Lance Leipold or great offensive coordination. So I'm curious to see that. I also want to give two really big shout outs to the 3 unanimous unders that we took. Matt Campbell, holy crap, man. Just whenever you think that they're on a downturn and they're not going to accomplish anything, even after taking their yearly loss to Iowa, no matter what, they still go 7-5, man. So credit where credit is due. Iowa State, when my Pokes lost them early season, I was thinking, my God, we suck. But no, Iowa State's actually just a well-coached team, and they're able to put together some a pretty solid season. And Neil Brown on the hot seat, gun to his head, do or die time, and hey, he did it. So he saved his job.
West Virginia, yeah.
8-4 is phenomenal. I never would have suspected West Virginia for 8-4. We were all saying, Neil Brown, it's time to start pumping gas and working at Sonoco, but hey, he gets to be a head coach for at least one more year.
And then lastly,
Cincinnati under, that was obvious.
I think
Emory Jones.
Emory
Jones is your quarterback. Enough said. Emory Jones is your quarterback. Let's go back to a clip, a little blooper that we had from the season before last, where we were talking win totals, Arizona State's, if I recall, and we said, oh, their starting quarterback's Emory Jones under. So I think it just follows the same logic. Like, Emory Jones is your quarterback, you're going under. And not to mention that, but the hire of Satterfield, that still baffles me to this day. I think that's like the worst hire in the last 3 years from like a Power 4 program, I should say, that I've seen. Like, I can't think of a worse hire in the last few seasons. Like, the Satterfield hire, it makes no sense. They were about to fire the man. Louisville was about to fire Satterfield, and they still hired him. Like, and they could have went out and got anyone else. They lost Tom Herman to FAU, for crying out loud. You tell me you couldn't get Tom Herman to come take a bigger job? It's at Cincinnati. Like, oh my goodness. Like, a huge L for Cincinnati. Huge L. Maybe they'll get it together in the future, but I think they're going to be routinely a bottom feeder in the Big 12.
Hate to say it, but I think we all saw that one coming. That was one of our favorite plays in the Big 12 was Cincinnati under, but You know what sucks about this whole situation with Emory Jones? The Emory Jones automatic under is that man declared for the NFL draft. And is he
automatically not getting drafted?
Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy, you're not going to get drafted, but you know what sucks for us is that I wish Emory Jones was still in college football, because now we don't have an automatic under to play next year. So we lose a free under win now that man is out of college football. So that's an L for us.